The sun dipped behind the rolling hills of St. Vincent, casting an orange glow over the leeward side of the island. Emery leaned against the weathered walls of her small home, her hands clutching a notebook where her latest story lived. She scribbled a final line and sighed, imagining a world where her words would carry her far from the stares and whispers of her classmates. "Look at her shoes!" one girl had laughed that day in class. "They're older than my grandma," another chimed in, and the classroom erupted in laughter. Emery felt her cheeks burn. She had kept her eyes on the chalkboard, pretending not to hear them. But the sting of their words followed her home, where the struggles were just as loud. "Emery!" her mother, Yvette, called from inside their modest two-bedroom home. "Come help me with this rice, nah?" "Yes, Mama!" Emery called back, tucking her notebook under her arm. She stepped into the kitchen, where her mother stood over a pot, her brow glistening with sweat. Yvette, a single mom, had been the backbone of their family ever since Emery's father walked out when she was 5. "How was school today?" Yvette asked, glancing at Emery's face. Emery hesitated, forcing a smile. "It was okay." Yvette didn't push. She could see the weariness in her daughter's eyes, the way her shoulders sagged under the weight of unspoken burdens. After dinner, Yvette sat Emery down. "I've been thinking," she began, "about how we can make things a bit easier for you at school." Emery raised an eyebrow. "Easier?" "Yes," Yvette said, her tone firm. "You know how people around here throw away all them plastic bottles and use the money for your books and fees." Emery stared at her mother in disbelief. "Collect garbage? At school? Mama, they already laugh at me." Yvette's eyes softened. "I know it's not what you want to hear, baby, but we have to try something. Sometimes we gotta do what we hate to get where we want to be." The following Monday, Yvette accompanied Emery to her school to meet with the principal, Mr. Humphrey. A portly man with a kind face, he listened intently as Yvette explained their struggles. "Mr. Humphrey," Yvette said, "I know this is unusual, but if Emery could pick up bottles around the school, it could really help us." The principal nodded thoughtfully. "It's a bold idea, Mrs. Jacobs, but if Emery's willing, I'll allow it, and I'll even spread the word among the staff to see if they'll help." Emery's stomach churned as she imagined the jeers from her classmates, but when she looked at her mother's hopeful face, she swallowed her pride and agreed. Emery stood in the schoolyard the next day, armed with a pair of gloves and a large garbage bag. The early morning sun bathed the campus in gold, but all she felt was fear. "Look, the poor girl's a garbage lady now," a voice called out. Laughter rippled through the group of students nearby. Emery's hands trembled as she picked up her first bottle. But then she heard another voice, this one softer. "You're doing a good thing, Emery." She looked up to see her English teacher, Miss Davis, smiling at her. "Don't let them get to you. People always laugh until they see results." Emery clung to those words like a lifeline. Over the next few weeks, something remarkable happened. Word spread about Emery's efforts, and some of her classmates began to see her in a new light. A few even started handing her their empty bottles. "Here, Emery," said a boy named Jared one day, dropping a bag of bottles at her feet. "It's for your project." "Thanks," she mumbled, surprised by his kindness. By the end of the first month, Emery and her mother had collected enough bottles to fill 10 large garbage bags. When they took them to the recycling plant in Campton Park, Emery watched in awe as the bottles were weighed. $250, the attendant announced. Emery and Yvette beamed. It was enough to buy her textbooks and pay her overdue school fees. As the months went by, Emery's determination grew. She didn't just collect bottles, she began writing about her experience, crafting stories that highlighted the importance of resilience and resourcefulness. One day, Miss Davis noticed Emery scribbling in her notebook during lunch. "What are you working on, Emery?" she asked. "It's a story," Emery replied shyly. "Would you mind sharing it with the class?" Emery's eyes widened. "Me? In front of everyone?" "Yes," Miss Davis said. "Your voice deserves to be heard." Nervous but determined, Emery agreed. The following week, she stood at the front of her English class, her hands trembling as she read her story. It was about a girl who turned her struggles into strength, inspired by her own journey. By the time she finished, the room was silent. Then, to her surprise, the class erupted in applause. "That was amazing, Emery," Jared said. "Yeah," another classmate chimed in. "You're really talented." For the first time, Emery felt seen, not for her poverty, but for her potential. Emery's story didn't just resonate with her classmates, it spread across the school. Students began organizing cleanup drives inspired by her efforts. Even the bullies who had once mocked her joined in, collecting bottles and raising money for other students in need. By the end of the school year, Emery was awarded the Principal's Award for Resilience. She stood on the stage, her heart pounding as the audience cheered. "Sometimes," she said in her speech, "life gives you challenges to show you how strong you really are. I've learned that it's not where you come from, but where you're going that matters." Emery's journey teaches us a valuable lesson. Never let circumstances define you. In a world that often measures worth by material possessions, Emery proved that determination, creativity, and a willingness to embrace unconventional solutions can lead to success. Her story reminds us that the very things people mock us for can become our greatest strengths if we learn to harness them. Emery's laughter was no longer a defense mechanism, it was a symbol of her triumph, and the same students who once laughed at her. They now looked up to her as an example of what it means to rise above. In the beautiful country of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a shy girl with a notebook and a dream turned her struggles into a legacy. And through her courage, she proved that the only limits we face are the ones we place on ourselves. This is based on a true story. The characters' names have changed to hide the identity of the person. Keep listening to more inspiring content. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Drama as rich as the Caribbean breeze.